Raymond Donald Hong will introduce us to Asian and Pacific Islander Wellness Center, a health services, education, research, and policy organization whose mission is to educate, support, empower, and advocate for Asian and Pacific Islander communities.
Back in our studio, Raymond will interview the center's Director of Development, Saurabh Bajaj.
In my most recent HIV test, February 24th, 2009, I was diagnosed as HIV positive. And, in that moment, I'd have to say I was afraid.
First, I was in denial. I was afraid, I was mad, I was scared, and I'm afraid to even acknowledge that I have something that I can't even comprehend what it is, because I don't know what it is. I know people are dying with it, and I thought it was, I knew I will die or I won't live that long, but
I tested HIV positive back in the middle of 1993, and I was pretty devastated because at that point I didn't have much of my family support. I just started transitioning, and my family was struggling to understand what I was going through. And so there was a period of time when I didn't really have any support from my family. And that's when API Wellness Center became my family.
API Wellness Center is wellness, family, and advocacy. API Wellness Center is able to leverage both their community voice as well as their research voice in a national policy setting.
An API Wellness Center can definitely help lead the way to really look at what true healthcare reform should include.
The fact that you are out there in the community, at health fairs, out there in big citywide meetings, talking about some of the issues that the population that you're serving are facing.
API Wellness Center has done a great job at reaching out to other communities. It really sends an important message that all communities are important, all people are important, and their prevention and treatment needs are really important.
API Wellness Center is serving, strengthening, and leading the community.
I think the success of my life right now, living this long and healthier, is part of it is because of API. They were able to watch me grow and to succeed.
API Wellness has supported my family, my mother, and definitely had helped me to pull through the darkest time in my life.
I can't even begin to imagine life without API Wellness Center. I don't know who I could have turned to first for, this immediate help.
Well, my life right now, it's it's great. I mean, it's wonderful. It's more fulfilling. It is a lot more satisfying for me.
Thank you to Asian Pacific Islander Wellness Center for saving my life. And thank you to all the staff, everybody.
Though AIDS is a disease that has no ethnic or cultural boundaries, it carries a stigma in many Asian cultures that still perceive AIDS and HIV as a Western disease. Asian and Pacific Islander Wellness Center is a health services, education, research, and policy organization that educates, supports, empowers, and advocates Asian and Pacific Islanders living with or at risk for HIV/AIDS. Here to talk about API Wellness Center is Director of Development, Saurabh Bajaj. Saurabh Bajaj, thank you very much for coming to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you explain this stigma that is prevalent in the Asian community about HIV and AIDS?
Sure. I think overall there's a great sense of silence around HIV and AIDS. Few parents, aunts and uncles are talking to their kids about HIV and AIDS. I mean, when I grew up, my parents said very little about sex, of course, and I think that goes over many different cultures, but I think it's particularly evident in Asian Pacific Islander communities. We have had Asian Pacific Islander Wellness Center has had a 5-year campaign called the Banyan Tree Project that focuses on anti-stigma. And we have produced PSAs every year to play across the nation talking about HIV/AIDS and the impact it's had on our communities. We recently had Joan Chen last year, and she was quick to say that among Chinese people, she feels that there's no one talking about HIV/AIDS and the impact it's been having on communities. So it again pervades. In the silence around HIV/AIDS makes people not get tested, makes people wait to access services. And we're seeing that people who are coming forward with or getting diagnosed with HIV are getting diagnosed very late in the game because around that stigma, the inability to talk to anyone they know about HIV and AIDS or their sexuality.
So how effective has the Banyan Tree project has been?
I think it's a long-term issue. So I think we've definitely seen the research we've done so far shows that people are starting to talk more about HIV/AIDS. And there's more of awareness, and it's again around its impact around HIV and AIDS, around API communities. But it is a long-term program, and we just got a grant for 5 more years to do this this campaign. And every year we have National HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, specifically for Asian Pacific Islanders. 5 years ago when we started, we were the only ones having an event that day on May 19th, and last year there was 24 events across the nation. So it's slowly growing. They're reaching more people. Our PSAs reach more people every year, but stigma is such a huge thing to change people's perception around such a disease. So.
Right, which leads me, why is it on May 19th? And
May 19th, that's a good, I actually do not know the answer to the question. I think it's also, May is API Heritage Month, and so I think they want us to do it sometime that month. I'm not sure exactly why they picked the 19th.
So how does API Wellness Center address this issue of HIV/AIDS in the community?
Well, we started 22 years ago as an organization that was focusing on people who were living with HIV and AIDS. So, at that time, our sisters and brothers looked around and said that there's no one who's actually focusing on our communities. If you look at API as a group, we comprise 50 different ethnicities, 100 different languages, and most of the materials that are put out and most of the services that are being put out were in English and Spanish, and not focusing on the needs of our communities. So people formed two agencies at that time that 10 years ago merged to form API Wellness Center. So since then, we've had care services. So every year we serve about 200 people who are living with HIV and AIDS, specifically Asians and Pacific Islanders. And we also have health education programs. So, on one hand, you're going to serve people who are living with the disease. On the other hand, you want to prevent people from getting HIV and AIDS. So we do testing, and we also have programs that really focus on the holistic side of keeping someone safe. Everyone knows how to use a condom these days, or most everyone does, and everyone knows how HIV is passed, but what's holding people back from using condoms? A lot of times if someone's uncomfortable with their own sexuality, having a hard time with their family, having a hard time finding a job, or don't have a home, they're going to take less of a responsibility over their health to make those choices on how to stay safe. So we have direct services still, and we also do this national anti-stigma campaign, as well as some public policy stuff, so we can have a big impact across the nation.
And you also have services directed towards the transgender community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Please talk about that.
Sure. All of our prevention and care services are focused on 3 main groups, the ones that are highest risk. We have services for men who have sex with men, youth, and then transgender folks. Transgender people have some of the highest rates of HIV incidence in San Francisco. So we want to make sure that we're reaching that population. We've had a program for almost 15 years now. It's called Agtane. It means sister in Tagalog. And it's focused on transgender folks reaching out to their own community and making sure that they're at places where transgender people congregate to, again, do some education, get people into groups, and make sure that our community is keeping themselves safe.
Great. And do you guys have any plans for World AIDS Day?
We do. We're having an event at the agency, a panel of folks talking about, again, the needs of our community and the prevention and care services that are necessary to treat people who are living with HIV and AIDS or at risk.
Great. The Asian and Pacific Islander Wellness Center is located at 730 Polk Street in San Francisco, and they can be found at their website at apiwellness.org. Saurabh Bajaj, thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you.